Welcome to Pario magazine, where I chat with individuals who have a desire to create. Today, I'm joined by a Helpmann Award-winning actor who's set to reprise their role as Giles in Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap when it takes to the Merrigong Theatre stage in September. Welcome to Pario magazine, Alex Rathgeber.
Thanks so much for having me, Jamie.
My pleasure. So we're here today to chat about your journey through theatre and obviously the upcoming performance of The Mousetrap. Before we dive into that, though, do you want to give our audience a little intro as to who Alex is away from the stage?
Away from the stage. Oh, wow. Sure. I grew up in country Victoria in a place called Horsham, which is halfway between Melbourne and Adelaide. I've been in the performing arts industry now for about 20 years. I studied at the fantastic Western Australia Academy of Performing Arts many years ago. And in my spare time, when I'm not immersing myself in all things performing, which is not, let's face it, too much of my time, because to do this, I think you have to be pretty obsessive and just throw yourself into all the different aspects of being an actor and a singer and a dancer and all the different disciplines involved in musical theatre, especially. I love to spend time with friends, and I love to keep fit and go to movies and do all sorts of different creative things, things out in nature that help inspire me to be better on stage and off.
Great. Yeah, I think a lot of people seem to have a similar idea of their creativity just becomes part and parcel with their life. But I imagine, yeah, with musical theatre, you do have the singing, the acting, the dancing. It's even more encompassing.
Yeah, it's often a lot to keep all the different plates spinning at once, and to keep at the top of our game with the demands of singing and dancing and acting, and keeping all the different classes and lessons and coachings and things happening is something I absolutely love doing. Ever since I started doing it full time when I went to WAPA all those years ago, it's always a case of being in a show or not being in a show, preparing yourself for the next thing, because the nature of the industry is that you're not typically signing on for something that rolls on for years. It's very, very rare that anyone in our industry does that. So you always have to be preparing for that next opportunity and that next show that might be auditioning. And it's very likely that it will be a different genre, a different style. There'll be different requirements. So whilst you might be, busy in one genre or style, you need to be also brushing up on these other skills that prepare you for the other show. So yeah, I love that. I love the variety that I'm exposed to through this industry, and that also includes, I suppose, the variety of people that I mix with and associate with and work with, and it's a thrilling business.
Okay. So you're still doing lots of like coaching and seminars and like building your skills. You're not just resting on, I've been doing this for 20 plus years now. Like, let's just keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of believe that fundamentally. I think that whether it's in the performing arts or beyond, I think you can't rest on your laurels. You've got to keep striving to expand your capabilities and that sort of thing. So I'm always looking to do that. But I think it's inherently a thing within this industry too, that you are only ever as good as your last night's performance. And every night, with the Mousetrap, which we're doing at the moment, which I know we'll go into in a sec in more detail, but every night or every afternoon that a new audience is coming in, you just have to assume, and it's going to be fairly true, that everyone in that audience has never seen this show before. But for a lot of the audience members, particularly younger people, they either have never been to the theatre or haven't been to the theatre for a long time, or that it's a really special outing for people. So we want to be, making it the most special it can possibly be, and just doing everything we can to make it so.
And you mentioned sometimes in musical theatre, people aren't signing up for something that just rolls on and on forever. The Mousetrap is a little bit different. It's the longest running West End show of all time with almost 30,000 performances in its lifetime. Does that add a bit more pressure when you're bringing this show to a different country and to regional areas?
Funnily not. I think maybe when we did it first time around, we started doing this production at the end of 2022, the 70th anniversary celebration production in Australia. And we've toured the capital cities. So we've done Sydney and Melbourne and Adelaide and Perth and Brisbane, Canberra. We learnt on that first, I suppose, leg of the extended tour that people really just want to come and celebrate the history, and it's more a sense of celebration than this loading up of pressure to make it something. We have the fortune of having the phenomenal Australian actor director Robin Nevin, who's the director for our production, who in many ways has made this not a new production as such, because we definitely honour all the things that Agatha Christie wrote on the page, first and foremost, but also those design elements that were largely, taken from what Agatha wrote on the page, but that remain true for the original London West End production. And we honour all that, all the costume design and all the sets and props and all that. It very much feels like it probably has always felt since 1952 when it first started in London. We're very, very lucky to have been working with Robin to make it feel, whilst honouring the original production, new and fresh and dynamic and exciting for today's audience. So it's been a really interesting project.
So then how do you describe Mousetrap for perhaps audiences that haven't heard of it before and are going into this fresh and this is their first experience in a theatre?
Yeah, okay. So the Mousetrap is classic whodunit. I mean, it's kind of like the original whodunit in many ways. It's been running for over 71 years in London. The original London production has never closed in all of that time, and only during COVID, much like the whole world, had a small hiatus, but it never officially closed. And as such, there's never been a film made. So the revealing of whodunit isn't readily available out there on your streaming service to just pop on the film and watch it. So people come not knowing who's done it, and it really keeps everybody on the edge of their seat trying to solve the mystery, the murder mystery, and that's true for people of all different ages. And we've found that people in their 80s and 90s are equally as entertained as kids who are around 10, and teens who are really engaged trying to figure out who done it. I play the character of Giles Ralston, whose wife has inherited this beautiful English countryside home, and they're turning it into a guest house. And that's all introduced at the top of the play. There's a kind of cavalcade of very eccentric guests that arrive, and I'm not giving anything away to say that there's been a murder and it needs to be solved. Who's done it? And that's what takes place throughout the course of the play. It's both dramatic and comedic, and it's a really, really there's a lot of astute social and political commentary that's true for 1952 as much as it is in 2024, that has really stood the test of time. And that really speaks to Agatha Christie's mind and her capacity to really observe human behavior and to write such things that really, resonate still today. It's amazing.
The fact that this has never sort of been turned into a movie or a TV series, I think that makes this such a uniquely important play for people to go and see in a theater. Like, this is where this story belongs.
Definitely, it's a really charming set design and the whole kind of design concept. There's nothing like I think, especially for Australian audiences, and we're traveling around Australia, going to on this tour. All sorts of places like Toowoomba and Port Macquarie and Darwin and all the way down to Hobart and to places all over Australia. But we are bringing with us this English countryside setting, and that is extends to our accents, of course. And we've got a range of different English accents and some others in there that really kind of capture that feel. It all takes place during a very heavy blizzard snowstorm. So we've also got that woven into the kind of atmosphere of the play, and the mood on stage is what's happening outside the guest house is this crazy weather, and it just sort of intensifies the drama and some of the comedy too. So yeah, I love accent work, and I love the fact that theatre really does provide this sense of escape for an audience, and transporting people to a different place and time. You can be sitting there and watching actors and just feel like you're transported to the English countryside. And I think theatre, for me, I love that we don't have an editor, piecing it together. We are our own editors, and it all happens in 2 hours and 20 minutes or so, in front of your eyes, and so we have to be right on top of it all the time, and it's a really kind of beautifully choreographed piece that all of those little clues for the whodunit, the murder mystery aspect of the play, are always being planted very carefully, so as to give little clues, but also not to give too much away as well. So that's a lot of fun.
Yep. Yeah, there's no like second takes of oops, I flubbed that line and kind of gave something away. It's oops.
Yeah, and so we're in rehearsals at the moment, and we're really, really, carefully kind of pulling it apart to figure out what's the best way of making sure that we're giving the clues, but in a way that doesn't give it away, so that we hold the audiences, in our grip right until the end, and then it's always fun after the show to sort of say, who did you think did it, and everyone's got a very different idea of who they thought throughout the play had done it, and sometimes, well, very often it changes. For the first little section, I thought it was you, and then I thought it was you. So yeah, it's really great.
And how much work goes into the accents? You mentioned you love doing accent work. Is that an
Mm.
easy process or is that a long, drawn out process?
It's very subjective. It depends on the actor. I think a lot of us, myself included, in this particular company, are musical people. We've sort of come from musical theatre performing, and in many ways, I think that's useful with accents and just voice work in general, because our ear is tuned into the different colors in different accents, and the different inflections and rhythms, and those sorts of musical aspects of different accents. So I don't find it easy as such, but I really enjoy it, and I really enjoy sort of the detail of trying to distinguish one from the other, and make those distinctions. Yeah.
So then this show, like we mentioned, is going all regional up and down the East Coast. How important is it for you to bring shows like this to these regional areas that otherwise perhaps wouldn't get big theatre productions like this show?
We are all really excited because this sort of tour doesn't happen very often, really, where a show that that has been is produced. It's this time it's a co-production with John Frost, Crossroads Live, and Shake and Stir, the Brisbane-based production company. They're two big producers from metropolitan areas, and certainly Crossroads Live, don't often extend their tours into regional areas. I grew up, as I said at the start, in Horsham, in regional Victoria, in the Wimmera district, which is 3.5 hours away from Melbourne and 4 hours from Adelaide. So for me, it has particular importance, to be able to go. And I wish we were going to Horsham too, but we're not this time. To be able to go to regional areas full stop is something that I've really wanted to do, to take a big city show and go regional with it is really exciting. And we've got an amazing itinerary. We're sort of darting all over the east of Australia this time, to places like Albury and Port Macquarie, Wollongong, Orange, some of the ones that I didn't say earlier, the Gold Coast. Yeah, it's going to be great, and I think I'm looking forward to the reaction that we get in all these different places too, from audiences and sharing the show with them.
And on a personal level, is this a really good opportunity for the cast to bond in a different way than they perhaps would in a capital city where they might all be going back to their own normal homes every night?
Yeah, absolutely. I always find that on tour, that when you don't have your partner at home to go home to, or your cat, or your obligations, of being at home, that the cast and crew as well, we all have the opportunity to kind of spend more time together and go and do a bit of sightseeing and check out the local restaurants and that sort of thing when we're not performing and required at the theatre, which I'm really looking forward to, because a lot of these places that we're going to I haven't been to before. So it'll be nice to have that, that we've got pack up the truck almost with everyone and get out there and see a bit more of Australia.
Is it a very packed schedule? Or do you do have a little bit of that downtime to go and do those touristy things, considering you are going to places you've never been before?
Yeah, I'd have to say it's sort of both. It is a packed schedule. We are going to, I think it's 12 different theatres in 5 months. And we do the typical performing schedule for any, professional production is 8 shows a week. And that's a lot, you really have to look after yourself and make sure you're getting enough rest, and make sure you got to looking after yourself nutritionally and keeping fit and all those things. So it doesn't leave a huge amount of hours in the week to be racing around town, but we'll definitely be making the most of the few hours that we do have in each place to get around and see a few things and do some of that together. That'll make it a bit easier to achieve, I imagine. But of course, when you're on tour, you've still got to maintain your relationships with everyone at home. So there's a bit of FaceTime and there's all of that too. So yeah, it's a busy time. I love just, the feeling of getting ready throughout the day for the show and just being in that mindset of, I know I've got a matinee or an evening show, and, so I've just got to pace myself through the day and save my energy as much as possible for the evening performance or the afternoon performance on matinee days. To make sure, the audience is getting the best of us.
Is there a specific process you go through to get into that mindset before a show?
It varies every day, I think, a little bit. I mean, we're required at the theatre an hour before the show, and typically we'll get there fractionally before that, depending on the actor. And then we all come together at the hour call and do a warm-up together, and just sort of catch up on where each other is at on that day. And that's just a good chance to connect and tune into one another, which we need to be tuned into each other for when we walk out on stage and play these parts, some of whom are quite intimate. Like I mentioned, I'm husband and wife team in this production. So Hannah Fredrickson, who's playing my wife Molly, we needed to be pretty tuned into each other before we step out on stage and play a married couple. But yeah, I always, whether it's a play or a musical, there's a physical preparation that we need to do. I'll be doing some gym training at some point in the day and making sure I'm, feeling limbered up and physically ready and on, I suppose, as well as vocally, making sure that I've got that flexibility and ease in my voice and all that sort of stuff too. Yeah.
Brilliant. So then, looking ahead, what would you say to people, particularly those in the Illawarra who might be coming along or considering coming along to a performance? What would you say to sort of get them across the line?
Well, I think the first thing is that, this really is just a sensational production, and I can say that because a lot of other people have said it. I don't I don't need to boast about it from the inside. It's been very well received in all the capital cities that we've played so far. It's been well reviewed and publicly very well reviewed too. So it's a great celebration of that original Agatha Christie, the Mousetrap production, with an almost all Australian cast. We have one cast member who has actually been in the West End production. He plays the role of Christopher Wren, and he played the role in Vienna as well, actually. But everyone else is Australian, and that's something that we're all really proud of. It's a really gripping piece. I think people have a lot of fun trying to solve the mystery, as I said, and I think they'll be very pleasantly surprised by how many laughs they have along the way.
Brilliant. So finally, where is the best place for people to support you, track your creative journey, and I guess get tickets to the show moving forward?
First and foremost, please go to themousetrap.com.au and find the nearest place for tickets. It's all listed there on that homepage, themousetrap.com.au, and look forward to seeing you at the show. For anyone that wants to follow me personally, if you type in my name, Alex Rathgeber, in a Google search, I'm sure you'll find, whatever service provider you're hooked into, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or a website or something like that. You'll find me soon enough, and don't hesitate to drop me a line and say hello.
Brilliant. Alrighty. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me, and good luck with the tour.
And I hope I get to meet you in person when we come on tour, and look forward to having you there.
Yeah, I am looking forward to getting down to Wollongong and checking this one out.
Great. Excellent. Thanks, Jamie.